All right, it is 3:03, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce Michelle, Michelle Bowditch. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Okay, great. She is the founder of Door 20A, and I have to ask why that name. What is the significance?
It's a funny story. Basically, before starting my business, I was going to open a hole-in-the-wall coffee shop. So I went and registered my business name, but never got the DA approved. And the address of the coffee shop was 20A, and it was just a door. So that there's no significance. But I always say, if it's not about the first or 20th door that opens and closes on you, it's about the 18 that you journey with along the way.
Oh, all right, very good. So Door 20A is a tech consulting agency supporting female entrepreneurs and executive assistants to adopt the latest apps and technology to propel their business and careers forward. Michelle empowers professionals at the top of their game and those currently climbing the ladder to find their unique voice, disrupt the status quo, and identify better ways of doing business. Embracing 15 years of experience as a C-suite executive assistant across public and private sectors, Michelle has extensive insight around tech loopholes that even the most successful professionals fall culprit to. Michelle is a global advocate for executive assistants, supporting them to realize their potential to become strategic advisors, influencers, and confidants to the people they support, while also helping leaders to recognize the value of their EAs. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Joanne. And firstly, I have to apologise before the session starts. I was saying to Joanne earlier along, I was meant to be in the office this morning, but that little thing called COVID has hit Sydney again. And a gentleman has COVID, and I went to 3 of the places that he has been. So I had to go and get tested, but I am fully vaccinated. So I am coming from home. So if you hear the whippersnipper, because the neighbours normally whippersnip on Thursdays or something like that, I have to apologise. So I'm sitting in my dining room at the moment. Anyway, welcome. Happy Wednesday afternoon and happy Thursday to myself. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let's get started. Okay. So this session is very interactive. I'm not one to sit there and show you 100 PowerPoint slides. I really want this session to be engaging. You know, how to get most out of this session is really commit to listening and, you know, think about the best ways to learn that you're currently doing it and maybe ways you could change. Love you to be focused and present. So I know you can't turn your phones off, but if you could put them on silent and to the side, put do not disturb on. And, you know, we've got the chat room here. So I really encourage you that during this, I'll have my chat room open and so will Joanne. So if you want to ask any questions during the chat room, put your hand up as well, you know, jump on stage, whatever you guys want to do, please join me. So before we get into it, a little bit just about myself. Joanne did introduce myself, but I am the founder of Door 20A. I have been the founder since nearly 2 years, actually. Next month it's 2 years. But how I got to this point was really, I started as an executive assistant nearly 18 years ago, but I spent 15 years in this space supporting, you know, CFOs, CEOs, both on a domestic and a global scale. And, you know, I was really, really fortunate in 2018. I was supporting a VP at Schneider Electric, which is a global company. They do light switches and power points and solar panels. And we actually had the opportunity to go to Silicon Valley and do an incubation. I had no idea what an incubation was. I didn't know, you know, I thought of Silicon Valley as the San Francisco Bridge, you know, and all the lights and the pizzazz, and then very soon found out when I landed in San Fran and went to the valley that it was all not all the glitz and the glamour. It was a flat land, desert-like with lots of warehouses. But during those 6 months of doing an incubation with my VP, I very quickly learned the world of technology, what it was about, and in our roles as admin office professionals, EAs, EVPs, chief of staff, whatever your title is, the power that technology can have in our roles to create efficiencies, free up our time, and also allow the opportunity for us to become the true business partners that we need to be with our executives. So now, 2 years on, I'm very much playing an advocacy role in the EA space. I'm speaking on topics of technology connection. And also earlier this year, I finished my first research paper, which has been fantastic. And now I've just started my next research journey. So I will continue to advocate for this space because I truly believe the role that all you people on this call play in your business, plus everyone around the world, is a very important role in the business. So only last night I had to get on my soapbox, if that's what I call it in Australia. We have a show called A Celebrity Apprentice here. I don't know whether you've got it in America, but Lord Sugar, who was the host of Celebrity Apprentice, got on social media and basically thanked his receptionist, didn't name her, but thanked her for the way she dressed, never gave her a name, didn't advocate for what she did. And then later on in his comments in this media article with Yahoo said, I can't do without my EA because she makes me powerful. So I've just got on my soapbox this morning. I've done a media retraction to it because I don't agree with his comments, and he's really demoralised the role of one and a receptionist. Then he upgraded her from a receptionist to an EA, and then through this whole article, didn't even name the person, but just talked about how she looked and how good she was at making cups of teas. So there you can see that how passionate I am about our space and what we do. But one of the things that also I am passionate about is the technology piece. I will put the disclaimer out there that I didn't study technology at university. I have done no courses. It is self-taught along the way. And for me, as I say, I hung out with the right people in the Valley when I was there for those 6 months. And these people truly taught me the power of what technology can do in our roles. So that is a little bit about me. I will say that I am a mother of 3 children, 2 boys which are now started their apprenticeship. They're 17 and 18, and a 13-year-old daughter who continually teaches me all about technology every day because I profess I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've found with executive assistants in this space, that we want to learn and we are continually learning. So if we embrace that thought in our brain that we're never too old to learn, then we're a step ahead of everyone else in this world. So I encourage you, if you walk away with one thing today, is that don't stop learning in our roles. Okay, so I just want to kind of get onto the next screen and just talk about, I wanted to thank you all for giving feedback on where you're at in your journey of technology, where you're at in your journey of returning to work. And I've just got up on screen some summary of some slides of feedback from all of you. And I think it's really interesting to share this with you. So I think, Joanne, if I'm correct, I think there was 40 people or just under 40 that contributed to this information. So, I asked you first of all, because this is an important thing to understand where you're at in this journey of technology and then how we can continue to support you. So it's really great to see that 50% of the audience and part of the ACE community are using Microsoft 365. And then there is still 16% of you that are still in the old journey and navigating just the Microsoft world. And for you that aren't in the Microsoft or the Microsoft 365, it is a big comparison, because what it does is if you're still in Microsoft world without having a 365 component, it doesn't give you the opportunity to the bigger, wider family of Microsoft. And when I mean the bigger, wider family, I mean components like Teams and OneNote and Stream and all these other fantastic kids that are running around in the 365 family that give us the opportunity to connect and integrate our platforms. And it is also interesting to see within the group that only 12.5% are using Google. Now, a quick interesting stat for you all is that prior to COVID, we were seeing on a global basis, it was a 60-40 shift. So 60% were using Microsoft or Microsoft 365 and 40% were using Google. During COVID, because we saw an increase in the integrations, the upgrades, and also the access on a global scale and also security that a lot of businesses and large businesses left the Google world and went into the 365 world. And I'm not saying that Google is better or worse, but it was just the comfortability of these corporates and also the access that the 365 community gave on a global basis, and it kept them connected. Interesting, you know, I asked you all words of what your tech fears were, you know, and I think the highlight from everyone was keeping up. Look, don't worry about that. I'm always trying to keep up, but it's how you keep up and in what way you keep up as well. And things like the overcomplication, that was a huge one in 2020 because we were thrown into this remote working and the hybrid working, and, you know, all of a sudden, we weren't using Microsoft Teams, we weren't using Zoom, and all of a sudden we're getting thrown all these platforms in our face, and it was like, oh, what do I use? I'm so confused, all of that. And then we were also the ones as the EAs, the PAs, the chief of staff or the EVPs, we were the ones that had to teach our teams how to use these new platforms, and our brains were going out of control, and we were becoming very, very fuzzy. So I feel that the overcomplication is getting less, but it's interesting to still see that some of you did see that you were still feeling that that was one of the reasons that you were fearing technology. The cybersecurity as well, the crashing. Look, you know, Joanne and I jumped on this call a bit earlier, and she was trying to, you know, share the screens, but between myself and one of the other ladies, we were able to, you know, explain the ease of how to work it and navigate it. I think that's what we do as executive assistants. We're always there 10 to 15 minutes earlier. We're checking it 3 to 4 times because even though we might know the platform, you never know what's going to crash. So it's great to see that, one, it's still a fear, but we also have the solution to the fear. So I've got to go the other way. Hang on, where am I going? It's going the wrong way. Okay. Also, one of the questions that I asked all of you was the obstacles that are getting in your way at the moment. And as you can see, 2 big things that were highlighted there was time and too much choice. Time is one of those things that we can never get back. And it's, you know, allowing us times in our diaries and our calendars because they are super crazy busy. They never change whether we're at home, back in the office or whatever we're doing. And it's allowing us that time to learn and also upgrade our tech skills. And yes, there is too much choice out there, and we will talk about that, about which platforms to choose and why we should be choosing them. I also wanted to understand the days back in the office, because the interesting thing that's happening at the moment is that, you know, across Australia and also globally, the adaptation of the hybrid working and also the non-returning to the office versus the returning to the office and how we return to the office. Now, Tim Cook, the Apple boss, the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, you know, Apple has basically seen all the workers still remote working, but he has made a decision from a community and a collaboration piece that in September, he will ask the teams to come back 3 days a week. So it was interesting to see that, you know, 26% of you are back in the office 2 to 3 days a week, where 5% are back in 5 days. And I suppose that 5% may indicate for people that are in a frontline business, or on the reverse of it, the negativity side, in a business that they may not have adapted to technology in the business or the remote working. So that's it. I just wanted to share that with you. So it was great to see that you've all got some tech goals that you wanted to work with. Proficiency, upskilling, efficiency, they're fantastic. I love someone's put in Excel, which is really interesting. I'm going to talk about Excel and how that's changed. LinkedIn, collaboration tools. I love that collaboration and integration are there, because that is the important thing with technology. It's collaborating within the platforms that you've got and how they can integrate and connect with each other and work efficiently, because that is the biggest thing. And I also just want to find out, you know, what were your favourite apps and tools? And I have to say, Slack and Teams, oh my gosh, I met Mr. Slack. I call him Mr. And I don't know why I gave him a Mr. name, but I met Mr. Slack back in 2018 when I went to the Valley for the first time, and I was totally overwhelmed with Slack. So I was so excited last year when a lot of EA communities and also businesses integrated Slack and the power of what it does. And Slack is one of those platforms that it sits independently to Microsoft and Google, but it integrates and talks seamlessly to those platforms and works so incredibly well. So that was fantastic. And also Mac shortcuts, drop and drag, things like that. That was fantastic to see. I also wanted to understand, because this is a really interesting thing, we have seen, obviously, with the change in COVID, our roles and our expectations as executive assistants, how we support people. And I just wanted to understand, you know, who was on the call, who was in the community, how many executives you were supporting. So this is just a little bit of feedback. You know, it's great to see that the VPs and presidents role, and there's some chairmans, EVP, CTOs. I didn't know what a PARC was, Joanne, so I'd love to hear what that
Actually,
means.
that's the name of a company or division of a company.
Okay. So this is really interesting for you guys, because this is seen, you know, within your group, and I don't know whether you had seen this information before, like, you know, each of you is a collective group of incredible minds and brains at supporting at different levels, different businesses. And this is really important because each of our experiences, whether we support a CFO, CEO, we still have the same challenges, we still have the same vault conversations that we need to have, and we still have the same frustration. So bringing this group together at all the different levels is fantastic. And I also wanted to ask, you know, the group, you know, is your company up to date with tech? Because, you know, it's interesting to see what happened last year as to where we are positioned now. And it's really fantastic that a large majority were up to date, moderately fast to a fast level. So that means they're adapting, they're quick. And they also understand the power of technology from an employee's perspective versus an employee's perspective. So that was really, really fantastic. So I just want to get into the conversation as well about the impacts of technology. And a lot of what I'll talk about here is really from my research paper. And the research of this information is from July until October last year. And I still think it remains the same, but I'm open to you know, challenges in the chat room or conversations or questions from you all, because I think it's interesting to understand, you know, how technology has impacted our roles. Because if I had had this discussion with you back in 2018, I had so many doors slammed in my face from EAs saying, I don't need technology in my role. I don't want a robot to take my role. I don't want my role to be automated. If I use this platform, then my boss is going to ask me, well, you've freed up all your time. What are you going to do now? And that mindset has certainly changed, because what we've seen with the impacts of technology is that how it has streamlined some of the processes. And I'll use account reconciliation as a great example. Like, there was so many EAs, PAs, or admin office professionals that, you know, prior to 2020, it was a manual process. It wasn't being automated. And then during 2020, obviously our account reconciliations, because travel stopped, events stopped, had become less. So we were able to have the time to review that process. And what I'd seen is that, you know, I worked with so many executive assistants that were working in the SAP Concur world, and they didn't know that you can automate that. And what I mean with automating that is, a great example is that your SAP and Concur can talk to your Uber app, your travel app, your inbox, and your calendar. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I discovered this in 2018 when we had got to the third stage of our incubation, and the third stage, what they call the check-in point, is a really hard stage, and only 21% of incubations get past the third stage, and we got past it. So as you can imagine, working in the tech space, there's all these, young kids, as I call them, the Gen Ys, and apologies to the young ones on the call. And they said, right, we're going to the pub, let's go. And I said, I can't. I have to reconcile my boss's Amex. And she had 493 line items on it. So probably like some of you on this call, sitting and doing that reconciliation process, that would take me anywhere between 3 and 5 days. And that was an average expense line items for her each month. Excuse me. And, I'm sitting there at the photocopier. I'd go through her handbag. I'd take out the receipts. Then I'd go into her inbox, my inbox, and trying to collate all these receipts together. And these two young guys, Henry and Harry, my two H's, as I call them in my life, he said to me, come to the pub, we'll sort it all out. And, they took my phone. They were constantly asking me my login to this, my password for this. And obviously there was a lot of trust there. And a few drinks later, and I said to them, what are you doing? How's it all working? Okay, so does your SAP do this? And, they're asking me questions, and it was like mind blowing. I go, I have no idea. Anyway, long story short, went home, woke up the next morning, and only 3 of my line items weren't reconciled. And I said, what the hell did you do? Excuse my French. And they said, we just basically got all your apps and tools that you're using to talk to each other. So a great example was that, my boss would go to lunches and it would come up in my Amex line item, it would come up with the restaurant name and the amount and the date. So what they did, they were able to get the Amex to talk to my calendar. So it would look at the calendar. Don't ask me how it does it in the background, because I'm not a coder or a techie. But all I know is that my calendar was plugged in now to my Amex and my SAP. And basically what it did is it looked in my calendar and it downloaded that we went to the Queen Hotel on this date. It downloaded the guest invite list via their first name, their last name, and their company. And so it went straight into the Concur expense line item, because I don't know about you guys, but we have to list at Schneider who attended the lunch, their name and their company. And then what that also did is, because I was a big receipt person, and if I booked the lunch, I would say to the restaurant or the venue, can you send me the receipt afterwards? And then what it did is it then went into my inbox and it looked for a receipt from that venue of that amount, and then it attached the receipt to the line item. So basically, I did no longer have to find the receipt. I no longer had to find who attended the lunch, add their business names. It was done automatically. So this is what I'm saying. That was my light bulb moment. No more downloading the Uber receipts. It was done automatically, because I would have in there that she was going from a meeting from the QBE Bank to the St. George Bank, and it would put one of those reconciliations and it would upload the receipt. So you can imagine 493 line items, and I only had to reconcile 3, how much time that saved. So I went from doing 3 to 5 days a week in reconciling my expenses to pretty much, I went down to 2 hours a month. So it freed up my time, and that is a great example of the impacts of technology in our role. And I will encourage you, and it was very evident from my research paper, that when we were able to find efficiencies in our role from an administrative process point of view, how much time we were freed up, and then we were able to do all these other amazing things. We were able to step up to the plate. We were able to have a voice at the boardroom table. We were able to do those projects that we were always wanting to do. We were then, our executives are then saying, hey, do you want to do X, Y, and Z? And that trust and that confidence was being built up. So in the survey, there was just under 5,000 people that contributed to the survey, and this was on a global basis. So just not the Aussies, American was a big part of it. As you can see, between the July and the October last year, 60% of them surveyed were using Microsoft 365, with the preferred productivity tool being Microsoft Teams. So for me, that is fantastic, because within such a short period, they went from being a non-Microsoft user to a Microsoft 365 user, and then they integrate in tools and they understand the power of what Microsoft Teams could do. Now, we look at Microsoft Teams these days, and now we can have an external meeting with Microsoft tools. We can run a GM or an AGM or a board meeting with all people coming in the Microsoft Teams environment. And there's no cyber issues. It's very safe. And that's obviously the continuing upgrade of Microsoft Teams and how they continue to develop those platforms. And, it's great to see that 51% of them said that, they loved it because it was a strong, powerful platform to use. So, and also out of this just under 5,000 people, it was interesting to see that more than 55% of them supported more than one leader. And I think when I see that, especially if you're supporting at the high executive level, when you're supporting more than one leader, and as you know on the call, like it changes your positioning as to what level of support you can give your executive. And what I mean from that is if you are supporting more than one leader, you can't be fully strategic. You will still have those transactional functions in your role that you have to perform, because juggling 2 diaries, 2 inboxes, 2 expense reporting, you're taking away that time of that strategic thinking that you want to be in that strategic leader. So this is where the impacts of technology are so incredibly important that we then need to look at parts of our role that we can automate and create those efficiencies. The other thing I wanted to let you know that, 33% had been in their current role for 10 to 15 years. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because that shows the longevity that is in our roles, the importance of our roles, and also, our roles are sometimes undermined or undervalued, I suppose is the right word to say. And what it does show me is that 33% of corporations value that role of the EA or the PA or the admin office professional title, whatever they have. So it's really, really important, because that's quite a high number. I was expecting that to come at like 5 or 10%. So I just wanted to throw this one in as well, about the 24/7. So I'm seeing at the moment, and also during the end of COVID, their executives' expectations of them being available 24/7. And that comes down to a few things. I'm going to talk about that shortly about technology. But I find that if you have your tech toolkit loaded up with the right tools, and you're a great communicator with your executive, that 24/7 shouldn't even be something that's in the conversation. So it was still interesting to see that 17% answered with a definitive no. One of the other things, and I'm going to talk about email management and protocol later, is that 44% reported email traffic of 50 to 100 emails per day when they implemented technology integration platforms. And I'll talk about that, why their number is so low. I am a 0 inbox tolerance person. I don't know whether anyone else on this call is, but we do have the opportunity with using the right tech platforms and the way we communicate both internally and externally to have this email traffic down to such a low number, both for you and your executive. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I talk about tech, what should be in your tech toolkit? Nothing? Everyone's quiet. Okay. So I think, as I said to you before, I don't speak in big language. I don't talk about coding and all of this. So I'm going to try to make this really, really simple. And one of the things that came out of the research paper was having good support around us, aka I call it what is in your tech toolkit. So I find, and I think, and it has been agreed, that these are the 5 top things that you need in your tech toolkit. You need to have good communication tools. You need to have some great document signing tools, design tools, file management, and some great networking tools. So what do I mean by all of these? So I'm just going to change my page. Okay, so good communication. So we talked about just in the last slide about the email management and how we can reduce out the amount of emails that are coming into our inbox on a daily basis. Now, I'm going to say to you with what I'm going to share with you, not one box fits all with technology. So what you might be using, Joanne, but versus what you might be using, Valerie, is very, very different. And I always say when you try a new piece of technology, do the try before you buy. So in other words, don't implement it fully until you know it's going to work for you, your executive, in your business. And the other important thing is to look at your current platforms. And Microsoft 365, it's a huge family. There are so many tools and apps within that family that are available. Look at what's working for you correctly at the moment and see what's in that family and try and implement it. If it doesn't work, then go to an external platform but ensure that it plugs in and integrates into your platform correctly. So what I mean by that is I'm going to use Slack as another great example. So Slack is a productivity tool, and by the look of it, a lot of you are using it or know Slack. So Slack is great because it talks to your calendar in 365. So you can make a diary or a calendar appointment within Slack, and it will automatically integrate into your 365 calendar. You can make a call. You can do a meeting from it. The other thing is that if you're using Dropbox, OneNote, OneDrive, whatever it is, and you're trying to find a file, you can download it seamlessly from that straight into a Slack channel, and you can share with someone. So you're not trying to download onto your desktop, save the file on the desktop, then drag into the Slack channel. There is a seamless integration process with it, and that's when good communication, because you want to make it speedy and quick. And for those that are using Slack, like, I love it because, if someone sends you a document and you're halfway through another call and you haven't had a chance to look at it, you can send them a quick emoji. So isn't it better, instead of typing an email and saying, "Hi, Joanne, I'm just in a meeting at the moment. I'll be out in half an hour. I'll get back to you by the end of the day and I'll look at that document." What Slack does is it allows us to put an emoji in there saying, "I'm looking at it, I'll get back to you later." And it's all emoji based. And all we want to know as humans is that we've been acknowledged. So we haven't had to send them a long, detailed email. We've acknowledged them in a very quick way in a platform that we're all comfortable with and we're all using. And we've used a quick emoji to respond to them. So communication in our roles and as leaders is so, so important. So to have the right tools, communication tools in our tech toolkit within the platforms that we are using is so, so important. And I think the thing is that what Microsoft Teams has taught us is to move the communication channels out of the email inbox into Microsoft Teams. So I encourage you, if your inbox or your executive inbox is out of control still and it hasn't been reduced considerably and you are healthily, I couldn't say that, if you are using Microsoft Teams really, really well, then I encourage you to start communicating and responding. Unless the email or the conversation is business critical, keep it in your inbox. If it isn't business critical, then take that communication platform and put it into a Microsoft Teams channel. And what I mean by that, and people say to me, "Oh, but they're not going to use it or they won't respond to me." Well, you guys need to lead from within and you need to show that, like, champion that. So if someone sends you an email and he CCs the whole business in, which we've got those negative Nellies, I call them, in our business, or those show ponies in our business that want to be seen and heard, and they CC the whole damn world. And I get frustrated by this because they're just trying to say, "Oh, I did this, look at me," and we've all got them, so they're never going to go. So what I would do is that if Derek sends this email and all he wants to know is what is on the lunch menu for the conference next week, instead of responding to him and all of our people in this CCC email communication, first thing is going to your Teams channel, and you can either send him a direct chat in there and say, "Hey, Derek, thanks for your email. Here's a copy of the menu," and just attach it in there. Or on the reverse scale, if you have created an event within Teams, you respond to him within that channel or that note, and everyone else can see what's on the lunch menu. So, and what I would do also is I would then create a subfolder within your inbox to say responded in Teams, or call it whatever you are. And then what it does is it automatically reduces the inbox email traffic, and it takes it to another communication platform, and it takes out the hierarchy of, "Dear Derek, Hope you have a great day. You're quick, you responded, you're done, it's all done, and it's created those efficiencies easier. Because in our roles, it's about working smarter, not harder. So how can we, if your inbox is out of control, you need to figure out a way to do it. Now, I saw last year a huge increase, obviously with hybrid working and remote working, of the way we communicate. So WhatsApp has been a huge increase in traffic coming in. A lot of EAs have set up lots of different teams within WhatsApp. So you might have the netball team, you might have the exec team, and instead of sending massive amounts of emails, they've changed their communication channel. So I encourage you, you need to have 2 to 3 different types of communication channels within your tech toolkit as to the way you're going to communicate within your business. Because as we said earlier, if one platform doesn't work, so if the email goes down today and you need to let everyone know something, you need to have another way to communicate with them. So you need to have good and different ways to communicate within your business. And it will free up your time, I can tell you that as well. So document signing. So this has been an interesting one during COVID because we can't go to the photocopier, we can't print out the papers, we can't walk into the CEO's, CFO's or chairman's office and get them to sign on the dotted line. So how do we do that? Now, the other thing is, the important thing is that all these tools that I'm talking about have a desktop version, have a phone version, and they work seamlessly as well on both versions. And also, if you're in Google Word versus Microsoft Word, I'm catering for all of those as well. The other thing I forgot to mention to you is that when you download any new piece of technology, tools, or apps, when you download it for the first time, and a great example again is Slack, is that you need to go onto your desktop, you need to go into your settings, and you need to set it up correctly and get it talking to everyone first of all. Because what happened, a great example during COVID, is that everyone downloaded these new platforms that they had to use, downloaded on the phone, and the phone capability to set it up properly is very limited. But once you go down and set it up on your desktop, and you actually, you've got it working, so you've set up your integrations, you set up your profile, you're making sure that it's talking to everyone, then you download it and open on your phone, and you have more capacity to use it. So that's a really, I saw someone the other day use OneNote, which I'm going to talk about, and they downloaded on their phone and they forgot to connect it to their Microsoft Teams, to their inbox, to their calendar and all that, so nothing was working. So they had to go back to their desktop and set it up properly. Okay, so document signing tools. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. And we have so many options. We've got SharePoint, we've got Dropbox, we've got OneDrive, we've got Google Drive, and Atlassian's got a great product if anyone's in the Atlassian world as well. The importance of this is, I'm going to use OneNote as an example. I don't know whether anyone is using OneNote and creating day packs for their executives. OneNote, I love it. If you're in the Microsoft 365, it is fantastic. What OneNote allows your executive to do is you can download, so you don't need to be on your desktop, you can be on your phone if you're working from home, and you can basically attach a document from OneDrive, SharePoint, wherever the document is sitting, put it into OneNote and get your executive, you can tag them in there and get them to do the markups and the signing. And when the exec's done the markups, he can then give you back the document. You can automatically resave it, so you're not dragging from here, clicking to there, doing all of this. It's a seamless process, and that's what document signing needs to do. The other important thing is that most of the business critical documents now will accept electronic signature. So I would, if you haven't already done it, ensure that you've got their electronic signature saved within the platforms that you're using. I know even with the Australian Stock Exchange, and we've got a thing called ASIC here, which is our governing body in Australia, they are now accepting pretty much for 98% of documents an electronic signature. So we no longer need to keep the original, 5,000 page document with a signature on each page. whoever's got the official signing can sign each of the pages electronically, and then they've got to do a thing at the end with all these document signing tools that says confirming this is your legal signature, this is who you are. So you're dotting your I's, you're crossing your T's, and it's fantastic. So there's no more printing, there's no more getting, and even a lot of company secretaries here in Australia are supporting these tools and platforms because it's created those efficiencies as well. So if you haven't got some good document signing tools in your tech toolkit or platforms for it to talk to, then I really encourage that. Design tools. So design tools, my two favourite, if you guys haven't met them, are Canva and ClickChamp. Wow, I absolutely love these. And the reason that I say that we as EAs need design tools in our tech toolkit is because some of our teams, we lost our marketing department, we lost our creative team during COVID, or we downsized. So their capability and skill set to support us is no longer there. Now, Canva for me is fantastic. It has replaced platforms and tools like Excel and PowerPoint. It's added creativity. I've done this presentation today in Canva. I can't live without Canva. If anyone is using any social media platforms and doing scheduling, you can now schedule everything from Canva Pro. It is no extra cost. It is seamless, and the ease to use it is fantastic. ClickChamp also has been fantastic during COVID. The reason that I say ClickChamp, it's an Aussie brand. I'm using two Aussie brands, I'm sorry. But ClickChamp is a video platform. But what ClickChamp was able to do is for the non-creatives, especially like me, or the people that are not in the video world, we were able to create birthday cards. We were able to create welcome notes within an easy to use platform. And Canva, for example, does talk to ClickChamp as well. So a great example is that, we used to go around the office, we used to send a birthday card and everyone used to sign it. Well, ClickChamp, you can send around to everyone in your office. You can ask them to do a voice message or do a hello message or just do a still picture, whatever everyone wants to do. And you can create a video. And then when it's all finished, it comes back to you. You compile everyone's pieces of video messaging, hello, whatever it is. You add some music behind the back of it. And then the person's whose birthday it is, it receives in their inbox. And it's really, really fantastic, and it's really easy to use. So I put the design thing in there. There are lots of tools in there, and I put it there purely because it's really, really important to have some design tools, especially for us that are working in smaller environments. It's a creativity tool. It is really, really easy to use. Thanks, Angela, for putting Canva and ClickChamp. I'm going to share all these links. Okay, file management. We talked a little bit about that and document signing. I think it's really important for you to have one key file management systems in your business. I know we don't control what system we use, but the imperative thing for you to ensure that your documents are in the one place, they're easy to find. If you're on the road, if you're doing school pickup, if you're working from home, because how many times has our boss text us or called us, hey, I need that urgent file. We should never have to open our laptop. We should have that platform on our phone and easy to use. The other thing is also file management system. I mean, if you're in the Microsoft 365 world, the file management system that you can attach to a chat or a Teams channel within Microsoft Teams is incredible. So if Joe blogs, or Derek, we'll use Derek as an example, and sorry, Josh, I know you're the only guy on the call, but I'm just using Derek. If Derek then wants his menu for the conference, instead of responding to that email, you can put it in the file within the Teams channel of that event. So it's really, we need to access this information quickly. We don't need to go and find where it's saved. If you've got your Dropbox app open on your phone and you can't remember where it saves, all basically you can do is go in the search function, the name of the file, you put it up there, and it lists it, and you can find it straight away, and it comes up with the latest version possible. So you need to make sure that the file management system that you're using in your business is integrating and talking to all platforms. It's not standalone. It has to integrate and collaborate, because you need to find that information at your fingertips just like that. So that's my next thing, networking. Okay, so networking is a really interesting one because people go, we don't network anymore, we don't connect, we don't collaborate. Well, we do, and we need to continue to do it. So networking for me is another thing of what's in your little black book. So we've all got little black books and we call them all different things, but in our little black books as executive assistants, we have so many contacts and so much information. So how do we connect with other people, other businesses, and stay at the top of our game in a way where we are still hybrid working, remote working, or not doing face-to-face events again? Some of us have the privilege that we are back. We are doing the 500 people events. We're back there, but some of us don't. So how do we stay connected and how do we network in the right way? There's a two-prong approach for me. So I think if you are lucky enough to be out there back working again and having those face-to-face events, I think you need to have an app or tool that you can connect easy when you go to an event. Now, two apps or tools that are fantastic because, guys, we go to an event and we meet someone and, we might get a 10-second conversation with them or a 1-minute conversation with them. But we know that there's someone that we need to meet, stay connected with, and follow up later. So my first one is a tool called Social Dot. So Social Dot is fantastic, and I'm going to send all these notes later on. So Social Dot for me is I can tap someone's phone at an event, and what will happen is, and it basically works for all Androids or iPhone 7 and above, and basically I've got Social Dot downloaded on my phone. I will tap the person's phone, and what will happen is it'll come up on someone's phone and it will have all my contact methods. So it'll come up with my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Facebook, my email address, my website, and everything like that. And what happens is that person that meets with me can choose how they want to connect with me later. It is simple, it is easy, and it's seamless. So if you're out there and you're connecting again, Social Dot's a great one. The other one is Chemcard. So it's a business card reader app. So if you're in an environment that people are still handing you business cards, don't go back to the office and sit and type those business cards in the contact. Get Chemcard out. It scans the business card, and then you can upgrade it later. You can update it later into your contacts if you haven't already. It is fantastic. It is also fantastic. My executive was going to conferences in Asia, and the Asians, they are so traditional, old school. The Japanese, they stand there, they hand their card out, and their business card is a value to them. And you always want to follow up with, great to meet you, here are my presentations notes, here's my follow-up action items. And what you can with Chemcard, right, she would come home from a conference, she would give me all these business cards, and she would say, can you send them a copy of presentation X, Y, and Z? So instead of me going back into my inbox, downloading all their pieces of information, starting an email to these, 100 people, great to meet you at the conference, blah, blah, blah. All I would have to do is I would have the presentation stored in Chemcard, and I would put a note that this person is to get a copy of the presentation. I would have pre-filled the email with, dear blah, 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 here's the presentation. And with 2 clicks of the button, that presentation is in the email box already, and the business card is uploaded into their contacts already. So it's created efficiencies. I haven't had to wait for them to get back to the office to do all that hoo-ha. It's all done. Or if I meet you today at a networking event and you say, hey, Mish, can I have a copy of that research paper that you did last week? I don't have to wait to get back to the office. I scan their card. I find the research paper that's saved in Dropbox. 2 clicks, it's done, and it's in their inbox automatically. So that's creating an efficiency just so easy and seamless, just like that. The other thing I was going to say from a networking capacity, look, it can be lonely, let's be honest. If you're at the top of the game, you're supporting chairman and CEO, we are sometimes isolated, we are privileged to so much information, and it can be really tough when we're isolated working from home. So I'm encouraging you, if you are not part of, you've got this beautiful community here, which Joanne is supporting you all in, but Facebook has seen the growth and the increase of EAs, PA communities on a global scale, and the information that's being shared there is truly incredible. Facebook can be overwhelming and can be daunting sometimes. I freak out because there's just so much going on. But I really want to encourage you that what we saw in 2020, we saw an increase of an EAPA community presence being only 2% within the Facebook world. It is now sitting at 47%. So we've had an increase from 2% to 47% on a global scale of all these communities that have grown and expanded and evolved during that. So you can go into a Facebook community, and if you're someone that's passionate about self-care, now Annie Cromer, I don't know whether you guys, she's an American, she's beautiful. She runs a closed Facebook community for EAs and PAs and is always talking about self-care. So it doesn't have to be a topic of learning education, it can be something else. So these communities are there for you to show up. You can show up and you can be seen as in communicating and talking in the chat. Or if you're just one of those ones that just want to scroll and learn and you don't want to input, you can also do that. But we need to stay connected during these times as we continue to navigate the remote working and the hybrid working. The other thing, you know, I'm going to tie networking in with good communication. I don't know whether you guys know, and I think Joanne, this is how our relationship started. First of all, Joanne dropped into my LinkedIn and sent me a message. Now, instead of me sitting there typing back a message, in the DMs in LinkedIn, you can send a voice message or a video message. So I've saved time. Instead of me typing back to Joanne and saying, hey, Joanne, lovely to connect, blah, blah. You've got a 60-second capacity. You can turn the voice recorder on and say, Joanne, thanks for connecting. Love to have a meeting. I work these days. Here's access to my calendar. You have then saved from 2 minutes of typing to a 60-second memo. You've created efficiency straight away. So within LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, all these tools, think about the way that you communicate and network and respond, because don't we love hearing someone's voice or seeing someone's face instead of actually sitting there, you know, just because typing sometimes the message can, you know, I know I've accidentally sent a message and it's been in capital letters and they've come back to me and said, oh, did I do something wrong to you? Why are you screaming at me in capital letters? So I try and send a voice or a video message as much as I can. So just think about that a little bit as in the way that you communicate back to people, and look at the platforms in the way you're using them. So within WhatsApp, there's the voice recorder as well as the video recorder instead of typing. And I think it's also a great way that if you have a team that are still feeling isolated, how great is it to hear someone's voice that's happy and cheery? It can lighten up their day. It can connect with them in another way. And our roles as EAs is that we are the connectors of the business. We know what's going on in the business. So if you've got people in your team that are struggling with mental health problems and all that, you know, we want to ask them how they are they okay in the right way? And sending them a simple little voice message or video message can turn their day around from being terrible to being amazing and going, oh, Joanne just sent me a voice message. She really cares about me. And I think we as leaders, we are continually trying to find the right ways to support our teams and navigate in these trying times that are still trying times. So having a great communication and networking tool in your toolkit is truly, truly important. So they're my 5 tools that I find are really important as EAs and leaders to have in our tech toolkit. And I am going to share my ebook that I wrote with you all at the end, and I've detailed a hell of a lot more. It's ever changing, so every time there's an update, I'll send it to Joanne, and she can give you guys the updates, because there's always new tools and apps coming on the marketplace. I've tested and tried them, and I've got a team of 20 people that test and try them as well, both Microsoft and Google users. So just don't think it's me who's a Microsoft lover just testing them. There are 20 people that will also test them before I share them with you. So having a tech toolkit, having it full with the right gear and the right stuff is really, really important for us. You know, I've said before, you know, we need to build a tech toolkit that works for you. So as I said, what works for Valerie versus what works for Joanne, what works for Josh can be very, very different. So you need to think about, you know, what are you doing in your role as a leader in your business that is not working for you, that is frustrating you every day, that isn't working for your executive. Then you need to put those tools in your toolkit to make them work for you, your team, and your business. We spoke about email efficiencies and protocol. Guys, I can't emphasize enough that if your inbox and your exec inbox is still exploding out of control, you need to figure out a different way to communicate. I also say that it does take up to 3 months for you to reduce your inbox from, 300, 500 a day emails down to a manageable level, or 20 or 50. Obviously, the external emails we can't control, but what we can control is in the way that we respond to those emails. So if another EA send you an email. So another external email sends you an email and says, hey, Joanne, can I get a time in the diary with your CEO for 2 a.m. next week, or 2 p.m. next week, not 2 a.m. Who wants to get up at 2 p.m. next week? Instead of you sending a formal email, if that EA is in your little black book and you have a relationship with them, you can communicate on WhatsApp or a text message, or you might just pick up the phone with them because you just want to have a friendly catch up as well. So think about the way that you communicate with externals as well. Yes, there's going to be ways that we will need to respond in an email, but I'm sure if you actually look at the way that you are responding and in the format, I'm sure there's ways that you can create efficiencies. Okay, collaboration with EAs as the true business partner. So when you create, I've touched on it before, but this is really, really important because I truly believe that executive assistants, when we have created efficiencies within our business and our roles, using the right tech tools in our toolkit, what we do is we free up our time and we become strategic thinkers. So all those transactional bits that we were doing in our role before, they may not exist because we've created those efficiencies. And what it allows us then to become is the true business partners in our business and leaders in our business that our CEO, CFO, or chairman expects. And what it does is it allows us to rise up. It allows us to step up. And it provides us with so much confidence. And you are all incredible human beings. Like, you know, show the business your superpowers in how you become a business partner. And it's really, you know, and advocate for yourself and be that true leader that you need to be. And if you're not getting okay, Josh, I can see that. And, you know, really, really, really think about what you should be doing in your roles to become that true business partner. So create those efficiencies, put those processes in place, and then go, what do I need to become the best version of me and the best leader? You know, and as I said before, make sure your tools are working seamlessly, you know, both on your desktop version and the app version on your phone, because they need to collaborate and work well. You know, just take that extra 5 minutes, have that deep breath, pour that cup of tea or a glass of wine, and just spend that extra 5 minutes on your desktop setting that new platform or tool or app up correctly, because it will save you so much time later. It will save you so much time great. And as I said before, bring on new tools that you need. So when people say to me, oh, I've got to use Slack, I've got to use OneNote, hey, I've got to use Zoom versus Microsoft Teams. My challenge to you is when someone says to you that you need to use a new piece of technology, firstly ask yourself, what solution are you trying to solve? Because you just don't want to implement a piece of technology or an app just because someone says you need to. It needs to be solution focused first of all. And then once you understand what solution you're trying to solve, then you need to say, hey, does it integrate well to my existing platforms that are working really, really well in the business? And if you have got the answers for both of those, then go and try it. As I said, do the try before you buy. So if your exec is hesitant to, you've looked at OneNote and you've seen how incredible the day packs are, and you go, right, I need to create day packs for my exec. How am I going to do it? He's going to be resistant or she's going to be resistant. What do I need to do? You trial it first, and then when you are proficient and you are comfortable with it and it is working seamlessly, then have that conversation with your exec and say, hey, I want to create the day packs because of X, Y, and Z. Let's try it, see how it works. You will have to handhold for a little while, and that is okay because, you know, we've still got execs, I don't know about you guys, sitting there asking for photocopying to happen. And I go, ugh. So, you know, walk them through the journey, walk your teams through the journey if you want to implement something new, but try it beforehand, get it set up correctly, and it will work amazingly for you. And the other thing also, if something doesn't work for you, you know, there's 2 or 3 other tools or platforms out there waiting for you to meet. So it's really about, you know, don't be scared that if one doesn't work, that you know, I'm going to give up and just throw my hands up and, you know, as my children say, go and have a cry in the corner, and then I'm not going to do it again. Technology is amazing and it's there to work for us and create those efficiencies. So I also wanted to say is, you know, we are always going to have the negative Nellies around us. We're always going to have the toxic people around us that are always, you know, going to be the Debbie Downers. I don't know whether you've heard that saying, and we've got these Aussie slang words that are always going to be encouraging us not to use technology because it's not the right way to go, or it's going to take my job. So you as EAs, PAs, admin office professionals, you need to be the leaders. You need to take the lead, and you need to really look at what you're doing and what you need to have in your tech toolkit to really create those efficiencies so you guys can step up and lead from within. So that is me done in a nutshell. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I would love everyone to jump in, ask some questions. If I missed anything, please let me know. But this is the time to ask questions before we all have to sign off, because I'm worried that I've just gone a little bit over time. But I will share the presentation as well as a copy of my ebook afterwards, to encourage you to really look at what's in your tech toolkit and really what you're currently using that's working or not working for you. Because as leaders, we need to have the right tech tools in our tech kit. That's me done. So thank you. Over to you. Anyone, you can take off your microphones and come and talk to me, ask me questions, or connect with me later.
Oh, I know we must have some people with questions. I'll ask one while they're getting their thoughts together. Michelle, some of the things that we have a lot of seasoned executive assistants in our group, and they are constantly asking, what are the millennials using? What kind of tools are they using that I should be knowing about, or I should be using? Like, they have the secret of what technology is. What tools do you see coming down the pipe? Like, for instance, if we had known 3 years ago that Slack was going to be as big as it is right now, we could have gotten in it a lot sooner and delved into it a lot deeper much earlier on. What do you see coming down next as the big app?
Well, firstly, I don't think it's the millennials that we have to be worried about. I think as individuals, we need to stay in our lane and do our own thing. You know, I don't think there's one app in particular. What I see happening at the moment, and I'm just doing some beta testing at the moment within Microsoft, is that Microsoft 365 is going to expand itself. And what I love about Microsoft is, you know, platforms like Asana and Monday.com, when these are launched, Microsoft are actually wanting to work with them because they want to integrate with them. I feel that, you know, we've got so many productivity tools out there to choose from, and it is really quite scary. You know, I look at Asana, for example, where it was prior to 2020, I'll be honest, it was a crap platform. But in 2020, they had to stay, you know, keep up with the Joneses. So they navigated and they worked really hard in the recoding, in the calibration, and now it's a fantastic platform. But I think if you're in a business that is, you know, very corporate, they are very set in their ways and they won't let external platforms, and you're in the Microsoft 365 world, there's so many new tools coming out. I mean, look at an example for Microsoft Teams. You know, 6 months ago, we couldn't do an external meeting. Now we can do an external meeting. And I also think stay within those Facebook groups. You know, the Facebook groups are always, you know, talking about new platforms. If you're on Instagram, you know, follow myself and I can share some others that we're always talking about new apps and tools. Don't be fearful that you're not keeping up with the Joneses, as they say. Mm-hmm. Just figure out, it's always about being solution focused, Joanne. What solution am I trying to solve? And the millennials, even though they are the coders, they're the tech data scientists, they're truly, truly incredible. They're the ones making the platforms, but they're not the ones using the platforms. It's us that's using the platforms. So, you know, subscribe to my newsletter as well. I always have tech tips in there about new platforms that are coming out. We just reviewed an incredible tool called the Remarkable 2. I don't know whether anyone see it. It's a tablet. remarkable tool is fantastic and the stuff it's doing for us. And that's another story. So I don't think, look, there's nothing new in the pipeline at the moment. There's lots of testing going out. We do see a rollout of new tools and platforms in February and also July, August. I haven't seen anything fantastic coming out for July or August. I've seen lots of upgrades, which we'll share with you. I just think it's staying connected, having 2 or 3 different communities, platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, people you're following, or Instagram, or subscribing to newsletters. If you're in the Microsoft 365 world, subscribe to the tech community. And as soon as something rolls out or they upgrade something, you find out straight away.
All right, great. Thank you. Any questions from the
We've got a few
team?
left.
A comment. It's not really a question.
Go ahead, Karen.
I mean, we use Teams for some of the meetings. If we want to record them, it's easier sometimes than WebEx. We usually use WebEx. But when you were saying that it's a time saver to use Teams for communication, for me, it's not. Like, I just find it's another place where I'm getting emails. Like, it doesn't seem to be a time saver for me. I can't figure out, I know some people think it is, but I'm trying to figure out like what I'm missing. Why do I not think Teams is, you're still sharing stuff. You're still having a conversation. I don't get it.
Okay, so the thing is that in Teams, it's a less formal way to communicate. So if Derek has sent you a request in an email, he's had to say, dear Karen, and go through that plaga and ask that. And basically the way you respond is you can just go into Teams and tag him in that file straight away. So instead of you think about the time to tag someone versus sending an email could be 90 seconds versus a tagging of 10 seconds. So if you times that by 10 emails a day, how much time have you saved?
Right. I mean, we do use, I guess we're using Jabber and WebEx chat to do those types of things instead of Teams as well. So I'm using Jabber and WebEx chat a super lot. So yeah. I see. Yeah, I use that all the time just to do what
Jabber and WebEx for me, I don't feel they've navigated to the next stage of being efficient. I would actually look at using Vision or Stream within the Microsoft family because it's there and it's just as efficient.
Okay.
All right. Well, Karen, since you're the lone survivor.
I'm so sorry. I get excited and I went a bit over.
I asked a bad question. It made people drop off.
No. We're just running long and people had to get going.
Yeah.
But, here's your chance, Michelle, to get every one of your tech questions answered.
But I was going to say, Karen, you work for a tech company I saw. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, a tech company?
A tech company?
Well, it's I guess you could call it a tech company.
Okay. Sorry, I just saw the end of the name of technology. I think the other thing, like WebEx in Australia, we've seen WebEx is nearly gone here in Australia. Hardly anyone's using it anymore. Because they've seen what Teams can do to replace it, both internally and externally. So I'd encourage you that. Like, that's an efficiency there. Why are you using Jabber and WebEx when you've got a platform already that's got everything that those two do in one platform? So you go from having 3 tools to 1 tool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we use WebEx for, I guess, the conference rooms talking to each other and also meetings with 5,000 people, presentations. So
Teams can do that, both those functions now?
It can.
Yep.
But you're driven by what your IT department dictates too. I mean,
right,
it's not always your choice. So you have to go by whatever they're licensed for and what they're using.
Well, we do have Teams. We have Teams, we have WebEx, we have multiple. Yeah. But it's the standard for the large meetings right now is WebEx.
Yeah. And look, it only happened in February this year, and I know businesses still aren't aware that they can do the external capacity. So I think, like as leaders, it's us having the question and saying, hey, why can't we use and also the capacity within Microsoft Teams, like the viewing, like you've now got the stadium viewing capacity. I don't know, have you seen that in Teams?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, we've used it. Yeah.
Yeah, so and the different viewing capacity, especially for external as well. And also what you can do is that with Stream and Vision, which is part of the 365 family, the way it talks in, it's a click of a couple of buttons. So I think that's for you, like I know we're comfortable with WebEx, but it's challenging having 3 tools versus 1 when you've got a tool that does all that for you.
Okay. I just remembered one reason we don't use Teams is because you can't, let's see, it's something like you can't just dial in, you have to join.
Internal or external?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is one of the changes that happened in August. You can just join now. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be, the IT will have to basically turn on a switch. I assume they've done the upgrades. They might have just turned it on. So ask them, but 110% you can now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you.
And another great feature, okay, here's another great feature. Sorry, I know we're getting sidetracked. Is if I am currently in my car and I join a meeting from my car on my phone, right? I can now come back to my desktop, turn my computer on, hit the transfer button, which is one button, and I can go back and join on my computer.
Oh, okay.
So that was another thing they rolled out in February as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of people do that with WebEx. So
yeah, so you can do that in Teams. Yeah, the new Teams meeting capacity. I know I'm harping, and I'm sorry for the Google users, but it's fantastic. Like it is, and you know, and we've seen businesses, you know, the decrease in Google. I really feel the people using Google at the moment are academics and creatives.
okay.
Kind of like when Apple came about, it was all the creative people who were using the Macintosh over PC.
Yeah.
I will have to start ramping up my use of Teams. Thank you.
Look, it's one of those things. It's just a habit. It's changing the habit as the way that you communicate and do things. And I ultimately believe it's a 3 months transition from going from here to there with any piece of technology to see it doesn't change overnight.
Right.
And also to get the people on board, the negative Nellies and people like that, to really embrace this new way of working. And when they embrace it, the efficiencies that you create.
All right. Well, unless you have anything else, Karen, I think we need to let Michelle go to get her day started.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Have a great day.
No problems. And Joanne, thanks for having me. I will send the ebook through and for the team to stay connected. And for the people that missed the call, connect with me later. I'm excited to meet you all later on down the track.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate your time today.
Have a great day. See you, Karen.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye, John.